What is up, guys? Hope everyone is having an amazing day. So today I'm going to make a deck tech video on my PDH commander deck. Um, the commander is still Sydri Galvanic Genius. So what PDH is basically, it's like a $25 limit, including a $25 MTG Goldfish limit, including the commander. So the commander has to be cheap, otherwise your deck will suffer under strain of having to cheap out on cards you don't want to. Um, but yeah, um, so I'll explain what Sydri does. Sydri has, for 1 blue, target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. And then your second ability is 1 white and 1 black, says target artifact creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. So basically what this does is it creates any artifact into a creature and then gives it death touch and lifelink. But in this deck, we're not going to use Sydri as the main objective, but we will get to that in a bit. So to start us off, I will explain the mana rocks and why I use them. Liquid Metal Torque says tap 1 for 1 colorless and then target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. So I'll explain to you why I want to be doing that. Another one is Bonder's Ornament. It says tap for any mana of any color, and then if you tap for 4, then you say each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card. So in a 3-color deck, you want the mana rocks to be tapped for any color. So you don't lack one. Um, you don't lack one color in the deck, and you can't play, like, for example, a white card out of your hand because you have no planes. So the mana rocks you want to be tapping for each color. And then after Bonder's Ornament is Commander Sphere. It says tap 1 mana of any color. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And then you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So once you don't need it, you can just draw it. Or if you draw it in the late game, you can tap for 3 mana and then sacrifice it to draw a card. Then there is Spinning Wheel, tap to add 1 mana of any color, and 5 to tap target creature. Then Spectral Searchlight for 3 CMC, you say choose a player, that player adds 1 mana of any color to their choice. To any color they choose, yeah. So you can add 1 mana, then Manalith, the same, just tap for any color. Fountain of Ichor, taps for any color, and then for 3 mana you can turn it into a 3/3 dinosaur artifact creature. Letter of Acceptance is the last one. Same story, add 1 mana of any color, and then for 2 mana and you tap it, you can sacrifice and draw a card. Now that's just the artifacts in the deck. Then, so this deck is somewhat of a combo deck. So I included a lot of cards to, like dig through the deck for the combo, or like in response to a spell, cast a spell to dig through your deck to maybe get a counter spell or a removal spell. The cards that are included in this list is Obsessive Stitcher. Basically, you tap to draw a card, then discard a card, and for 2 mana and 1 blue, 1 black, you can sacrifice Stitcher to reanimate. But that's not really what you want to be doing. Then I have Merfolk Looter, who say to tap to draw a card, then choose and discard a card. Compulsive Research, target player draws 3, then discards 2 unless they discard a land. So this is a very good loot spell. You can dig 3 cards and then loot and then discard 2, or you can discard a land and keep all 3 cards basically. Then a good old opt, scry 1, draw 1. Omen of the Sea, scry 2, then draw a card, and then later on you can tap for two colorless, and not colorless, but like 2 and a blue to sacrifice to scry 2. Then a very good staple in the PDH format is Tomebound Lich. It's one mana, blue black, with it's a 1/3 body, and then it says Death Touch and Lifelink. And then whenever Tomebound Leech enters a battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, discard a card. People will not block this. If they normally they want to keep their creatures alive. So this is essentially a free loot spell every time you deal combat to a player. Then Sun in Blood. For 2 black, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. This is not that bad of a drawback. Your creatures and you will have a lot of life to do this, especially early in the game. Scour all possibilities, scry 2, draw a card. And then it has flashback for 4 and 1 blue. Then Thirst for Knowledge, the same story with compulsive research. Draw 3 cards and discard 2 unless you discard an artifact. And there's a few artifacts in the deck, but you mainly don't want to discard them. Notion Rain, also very good. Surveil 2, draw 2 cards. 2 cards. Notion Rain deals 2 damage to you. A very good loot spell. You can base Surveil 2 is basically you can either rearrange the 2 cards, throw them in the graveyard, or keep them on top and then draw 2. And then Thirst for Meaning, same story with compulsive research and Thirst for Knowledge. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards, and then you discard an enchantment card. You will most likely not want to discard enchantments, but it's a very good loot spell. Then Tihada's Ploy, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. You gain life equal to the number of cards you've discarded this turn. So instead of losing life, you gain life, and then it has Jumpstart. So yeah. Then Treasure Cruise. It's a 7 and 1 blue with Delve to draw 3 cards. So you've been doing a lot of looting, so Treasure Cruise might just be a 1 mana draw 3 card spell, which is very good. Then Fact or Fiction. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those into 2 piles. Put one pile in your hand and the other in your graveyard. Another way to dig through your deck for combo pieces. Deliberate, scry 2, draw a card, and then Anticipate. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So that is what the deck does by digging through the deck for combo pieces. But now I'm gonna get to ways to tutor for them. Trinket Mage, it's 2 mana, 1 blue. Search your library for a converted artifact with converted mana cost 1 or less. There is one very specific card that you want to loot. I mean like 2 to 4. Then Shred Memory. But mainly we're not going to use the transmute cards for their actual purpose. Might be a bit redundant because you can remove 4 cards from a graveyard in case someone tries to reanimate something big. But for one generic and 2 black, you can transmute and search for any 2 CMC card. And when I get to the combos, you'll notice why this card is included. Then Tribute Mage. You may search when it enters a battlefield. You may search a library for a converted artifact card with converted mana cost 2. Also, one of the ways to search for combo pieces, because some of the combo pieces are indeed 2 CMC, or if you want to ramp a bit, you can just search for 2 CMC artifact to play and then ramp you. Forerunner of the Legion basically searches for a vampire card and puts it on top of your library. I will get to the combo pieces in a bit. I just want to explain the rest of the deck first. Then Dimmer Infiltrator. It's a 1/3 body for 1 blue, 1 black. Same sort of transmute for 1 CMC blue and black. Basically included to be a good attacker, and for the most part basically the transmutability. Then Drift of Phantasms, same story. It has 3 CMC, so when you transmute you can look for any 3 CMC card. It's also a way to dig for combo pieces. This spell, it's a 1 CMC. You can transmute for any 1 CMC permanent in your, card with 1 CMC, not permanent, but like any 1 CMC card. And then the best of them all, Mystical Teachings. So most of the yeah, like let's say for example you're stuck in the mid game, um, you have a lot of mana. For 4 mana you can search for any instant, which is in a way like a toolbox, especially for this deck, because the deck does have a lot of instant removal, instant ways to give your creatures protection, and instant draw spells. So you will always have something to do for with mystical teachings. Then I'm gonna get to the counter magic um, pile I have, because you want to be protecting your combo at all costs for the least amount of effort possible, and not too bad counter magic for this budget. So the first one is Whirlwind Denial. Um, the card that I have in hand is Japanese, but I pretty much like the card a lot. So for 3 CMC, when you play this, you counter each activated ability or spells cast unless their controller pays 4 for each of them. So let's say, for example, someone is going off with a lot of triggers and a lot of spells, especially storm abilities. As soon as you play Whirlwind Denial, you can counter each one of them unless they pay 4, which is very good. Then Dispel, good old 1 CMC card that says counter target instant spell, because Dispel is pretty much one of the best counter magics there is, because you can fight off, you can go into a counter magic battle. You can play, for example, Whirlwind Denial, someone plays an instant to counter that, and then you just dispel. And it can be tutored for with Dizzy Spell, so it's very good. Then Prohibit, counter target, so it's 1 CMC and then 1 blue with Kicker. Counter target spell, if it's converted mana cost, it's 2 or less. Unless you kick it, then you can counter a spell with converted mana cost 4 or less instead. So it's basically like down on the ground, 2 mana counter spell. Usually, yeah, this is a very good counter spell. Then Supreme Will says it's 2 and then 1 blue. Says counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Or look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of any order. So in the late game, Supreme will either be a very good deck spell, or you can counter unless they pay 3. And then the best counter spell of them all, besides the spell, is Negate. Good old trustworthy Negate. Then I'm going to get to the removal and interaction spells. The best of them all is Price of Fame, because this takes care of any commander or legendary creature for 2 mana, and then you can surveil, which is very helpful. Then Blink of an Eye, if you need to blink any pesky spell that's stopping you from winning or that needs to be taken off the battlefield, and then you can kick it to draw a card as well. Then Duress, to maybe like steal a counter spell or a combo piece from an opponent's hand, which comes in clutch very often, very early. Like if you think someone is keeping open mana to maybe counter your game plan, then just to rest before you start going off, and then maybe you can take out a counter spell with only 1 black mana. Then second of all is Eliminate. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with converted mana cost 3 or less for 1 generic and then 1 black. It's also very good to take out cards like even Mind Sensor, and then like basically just any 3 CMC commander that you think is going to be a threat. Then Cast Out. Cast Out has Flash, it's an enchantment, and says when Cast Out enters the battlefield, exile target non-permanent opponent controls until Cast Out leaves the battlefield. And then you can also cycle if you do not need it at the moment, or if you want to maybe feast your mana, or if you desperately need the draw. Then Glass Casket, for it's an artifact for 1 and then 1 white. When Glass Casket enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent control with converted mana cost 3 or less until Casket leaves the battlefield. So it's basically a good way to just a good way to exile a very low CMC creature. Usually the people to try and keep the deck competitive want a very low CMC interaction, then some of the best interaction cards there is Eitherize. It's a 3 and then 1 blue instant that says return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. It's very good to disrupt a token heavy deck that might have went off. You do not have interaction for maybe like you can destroy one, but you can bounce all of them to your hand, to the opponent's hand, and especially if they are tokens, you can eliminate each token with just one 4 CMC spell. And it can be tutored for with mystical teachings in a clutch situation if it's late game and you do need the spell. So mystical teaching, digging for a lot of spells, a lot of very good spells. Then Swift Reckoning says it's a 1 and then 1 white, says destroy target tapped creature, and then it has spell mastery. If there are 2 or more instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard, you may cast Swift Reckoning as though it has flash. So with all the looting going, all the counter magic and all the removal, having spell mastery is very easy in the late game, and it's usually then when you need the removal the most. Then cast down, my personal favorite, is destroy target non-legendary creature for instant speed, 1 and 1 black. So you take out any non-creature spell for 2 mana. I personally like the card a lot. And then one of the best removal spells in the deck, hands down, is Caltrops. Now, I don't think a lot of people know about this card, but it's a 3 CMC artifact that says whenever a creature attacks, Caltrops deals 1 damage to it. Now, remember Sydri can turn an artifact into a creature and then give it lifelink and death touch. So what this means is if you turn Caltrops into a creature with Sydri's 2 abilities and give it death touch and lifelink, whenever Caltrops deals 1 damage to that creature, it deals damage, but it has death touch as well. So each card that attacks, like each creature that attacks with Caltrops being a creature, death touch and lifelink, dies. Like that is how the deck works. You can destroy any creature with it, obviously not indestructible, but like if the player has a large board state, they cannot attack into Caltrops being a creature. And then some of the utility cards that are not involved with the combo is Trail of Evidence, also one of my favorite cards at the moment. It basically turns your instants and sorceries into a 2 mana draw spell that is very good in the late game, and especially if you can basically just play Opt, create it, investigate, sack that token, draw a card. If you have mana to spend, or like drop it down early, play removal spells. For 2 mana you can always draw a card of any spell cast. Then Casmina's Transmutation. I don't even think I need to explain why this is in the deck. You can basically nullify any commander, any pesky creature that is causing trouble for 2 mana, 1 generic and 1 blue. Then Psychic Spiral. It's basically shuffle all your cards from your graveyard into your library, then target player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So why I included this deck is if it is the case that you might be close to decking yourself, you can just cast Psychic Spiral and then shuffle everything back into your into your library, and then start new, like with a refreshed deck count. Also, I have a lot of favorites, but this is why it's in the deck, is Painseer. It's for 1 mana and then 1 black, a 2/2 body creature, human wizard, that has Inspired. Whenever Painseer becomes untapped, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So this, in my eyes, is essentially Dark Confront on a budget, but it does need to untap first, but It's very good if you drop it early, remove someone's creature and then swing, deal 2 damage and then just untap it. It's one of the best draw spells in the game in the deck in my opinion. And then it's also a personal favorite, and I actually have a few copies of it that I am going to include in every deck that needs blue, is Verity Circle. Now, Verity Circle is enchantment for 2 mana and their 1 blue. Says whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. So what this means is if you have this out and the opponent taps, let's say, Llanowar Elves for mana, it's not declared as an attacker, so you then instantly you may draw a card. You're not forced to draw, but you may, which I think is very useful in a low budget deck, and it can draw you a lot of cards, definitely. Then I'm almost nearing the 2 combos, but some ways to protect your win conditions is stave off. It's for 1 white instant. Target creature gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Basically just to give your enchantment creatures, your artifact creatures or creatures protection from any color. And then God's Willing, same story. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. And then you can scry for instant speed. But if you're still watching and you want to see the combo, that's the last pile. So the combo I chose for this deck, right, is a combo that involves Famished Paladin, Viridian Longbow, and Spirit Link. Let's just keep it plain. So with these 3 cards on the battlefield, Famished Paladin taps and then deals 1 damage through Viridian Longbow, and then you gain 1 life because Spirit Link gave Famished Paladin lifelink, and then you instantly untap Famished Paladin and Viridian Longbow, and then you can tap him again to ping any target, preferably players, for 1 damage. Now that by itself is an instant win, it's an instant win, but it's not always that easy assembling 1 combo. So what you do then is you play okay, so there's basically ways to turn them into artifacts. Okay, I'm not explaining this well enough. So you can make Famished Paladin a artifact with liquimetal coating, silver skin armor, Ashnod's transmogrant, and Nurok transmuter. So by itself you can make Famished Paladin an artifact with these 4 cards. Then you attach Viridian Longbow to it, and you can ping for 1 damage, but there's something missing, it's not an artifact and doesn't have lifelink, but that's where Sydri comes in. For 1 white and 1 black, you can make any artifact creature Death Touch and lifelink. So that takes out all the other spells and Spirit Link, and then you can basically go infinite and ping infinity with Famished Paladin and Viridian Longbow. I don't think it's a combo that's not that known of, but it's definitely an instant win if you can assemble a combo, and the deck does have a lot of ways to protect it. And then other combo that I threw in just for a bit of redundancy, and if your main win condition is countered, or yes, it's a very good combo. The combo is Time Sieve and Thopter Assembly. Now how this works is you play Thopter Assembly, and then you wait a turn. You bounce it. Okay, I'll read the card. Sorry. So Thopter Assembly is a 6 CMC mana cost creature that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return Thopter Assembly to its owner's hand and put 5 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. And Time Sieve says sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn. So what then happens is you play Thopter's Assembly. Next turn, you bounce it to your hand. You play Time Sieve, sacrifice 5 Thopters, the 5 that you created through bouncing Thopter Assembly. Then you play Thopter Assembly again. Your next turn comes, you bounce Thopter Assembly back to your hand again. You sacrifice those for another turn. And then you have infinite turns with a 2-card combo. Now, if you look at the CMC of a lot of these combo pieces, they can easily be tutored by um, what drift. I actually read the cards. Sorry, I'm not going to try and remember all of them, just for the sake of making this video more educational. This is spell you can tutor for a 1 CMC card, Drift of Phantasms for 3, Demir Infiltrator for 2, and then Forerunner of the Legion is basically a way to tutor for Famished Paladin. Tribute Mage searches for a 2 CMC, Shred Memory for a 2 CMC, Trinket Mage for a 1, and then the rest is basically just looting. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Then it comes down to the mana base. So with the mana base, I wanted to have the lands tap for each color, but it's not always that easy. So I included Terramorphic Expanse to mana fix. I included Evolving Wilds to search for that one basic land you're missing. Then cards that tap for all 3 is Transguild Promenade. Unfortunately, you have to pay 1 or sacrifice it, but it's very good in the early game. If this is your second land, you're on the right foot. You can basically just tap it for any color as soon as it comes untapped. Rapture Spire, same thing, and then Gateway Plaza, same thing. It's not that bad. It's honestly not that bad. Assembling Esper as soon as possible is very good, and then a Dimmer Guild Gate for good measure. Then these other than these these few lands that have all colors, there is 10 islands, 10 swamps, and 10 plains. This deck is one that I made for my PDH Peasant Dragon Highlander play group. It is not that refined, but I'm happy where it is at the moment. But if you guys have any other suggestions, if you like the deck, please comment. I want some feedback from you guys. And if you like these type of videos, I will make more. I have another Orvar, the all-form deck, and I'm going to be brewing and building a lot more. So if you guys like this video, just let me know. Like the video, leave a comment, doesn't matter. But yeah guys, that's it for me. I'm gonna get to editing this video and maybe uploading it as soon as possible, just to get some feedback on if you guys want to see other decks that I have. This one, I'll actually post a link in the description, is a true $25 deck. I think earlier I submitted this deck on 20 June, and when I checked the price on it earlier today, it was $25.15. It's a bit over, like 15 cents over $25. It's not that, it's still in my eyes $25 because it was $25 or lower when I submitted this deck to my spreadsheet. But you know, it's budget. It's a functional deck that's budget. It can in a way be considered as very fine-tuned, maybe a bit more counter magic instead of removal, but I was playing black, I was playing white, so I wanted to add removal instead of counter magic in the mix. But yeah guys, let me know what you think and I will make another video. Cheers.